Every relationship has its secrets, but some secrets aren't just hidden, they're buried alive, festering in the dark corners of a soul until they erupt, consuming everything in their path. I thought I knew Eleanor, my fiancée, the woman I was about to marry, but the truth I unearthed wasn't just a secret. It was a sprawling, twisted labyrinth of perversion and deceit that threatened to swallow me whole. My name is Alex Eleanor, and I had been together for 5 blissful years. Or so, I thought. We lived in a charming, slightly older house that was ours in every sense. Our lives were intertwined, shared dreams of a family, a cozy future, and that upcoming wedding. Everything felt perfect, a warm, comforting blanket of domesticity. Eleanor was vibrant, intelligent, an architect with a keen eye for design, and always seemed to possess an almost childlike innocence when we were together. Her laugh was infectious, her touch reassuring. We'd spent weekends planning our honeymoon, picking out invitations, even arguing good-naturedly over seating charts. I was utterly, blindly in love. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Eleanor had mentioned a guest room in the rarely used extension of the house. It was off-limits, she'd explained, because it was filled with old family heirlooms, packed away for safety until we had more time to sort through them. Just a bit of a mess, darling, she'd say, with a dismissive wave and a sweet smile. Whenever I so much as glanced towards its closed, heavy oak door, I never questioned it. Why would I? Trust was the bedrock of our relationship, but over time, a faint, almost imperceptible musty odor began to emanate from that end of the house. A smell I couldn't quite place, masked often by Eleanor's frequent use of air fresheners and scented candles. It was just a house quirk, I told myself. Something we'd addressed after the wedding. The house itself was a character, a sprawling Victorian with too many nooks and crannies, a place we'd bought together, each putting our personal stamp on different rooms. Mine was the den, filled with books and my old guitar. Eleanor's was the sunroom, overflowing with plants and natural light. The guest room, however, remained an enigma. Its door always shut, felt like a deliberate barrier, not just to a messy room but to a part of Eleanor I couldn't access. My best friend, Mark, a cynical but fiercely loyal software engineer, often joked about Eleanor's secret lair, never imagining how chillingly accurate his humor was. He'd seen the door, too, and made light of it. My sister, Sarah, more intuitive, once commented on a strange, almost unsettling tension in the air whenever the topic of the guest room came up. A fleeting shadow that crossed Eleanor's usually bright features, the underlying conflict was a silent, corrosive decay of trust I didn't even know was happening. Eleanor became increasingly secretive with her phone, always taking calls in another room. Her voice hushed. She started having late nights at work, which stretched into the early hours of the morning, always with a vague explanation about a demanding client or a tight deadline. When she came home, she was often showered, sometimes even smelling faintly of unfamiliar cologne, a detail I dismissed as a side effect of working closely with male colleagues. My own internal alarm bells were muffled by my unwavering love and the excitement of our impending wedding. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. My initial reaction was compliance, a silent acceptance of her explanations. I trusted her implicitly. I would prepare late dinners for her, rub her feet when she complained of exhaustion, and listen patiently as she recounted her stressful workdays. Yet, a gnawing discomfort began to settle in. I found myself observing her more closely. Her eyes, which once met mine with such open affection, now seemed to dart away whenever I asked about her late nights. There were times, late at night, when I'd wake to find her side of the bed empty, only for her to slip back in hours later, claiming insomnia and a need for a walk. I never pressed, afraid to upset the delicate balance of our seemingly perfect world. The red flags started to become less subtle. I found a small, unfamiliar earring on the bathroom floor, a style Eleanor never wore. Her lingerie, once neatly folded in her drawer, was sometimes wadded up, smelling faintly of a chemical cleaner that wasn't ours. One evening, as I walked past the guest room, I heard a faint, high-pitched worry sound coming from behind the closed door, something like a small motor. I paused, my hand on the doorknob. Curiosity piqued, just as I was about to turn it. Eleanor appeared seemingly out of nowhere, her smile a little too wide, her voice a little too casual. "Oh, darling, don't go in there, I swear. It's a disaster. I'll get to it this weekend, promise." She quickly steered me away, her grip on my arm surprisingly firm. The incident left me unsettled, a tiny shard of ice in the warmth of my love. The musty odor from the room seemed to grow stronger, now mixed with something else, something cloying and sickly sweet. My emotional state shifted from blissful ignorance to a creeping unease. The perfect future I'd envisioned began to fray at the edges. I found myself replaying Eleanor's vague explanations, Her hasty excuses, the casual jokes from Mark about Eleanor's secret room started to feel less funny and more like a premonition. I was losing sleep, my mind racing through possibilities I dared not voice. Was she hiding something innocent, like a surprise gift? Or something more sinister? The thought made my stomach churn. My attempts to cope involved more work, more time at the gym, anything to distract myself from the growing chasm of doubt in my mind. The once bright prospect of our wedding now felt shadowed, a weight on my chest rather than a joyous anticipation. My resolve, once directed at planning our future, was slowly hardening into a desperate need for answers. The catalyst came on a Tuesday morning. Eleanor had left early for an alleged site visit out of town. I was making coffee when I noticed something glinting under the couch cushion. A small, delicate silver key, one I'd never seen before. It didn't belong to any of our usual locks. My gaze drifted instinctively to the heavy oak door of the guest room. A cold dread washed over me. With a deep, shuddering breath, I walked towards it, the strange key cold in my palm. The musty smell was potent now, even through the door. I inserted the key into the lock. It clicked with an ominous finality. This was it, the moment of truth. The door creaked open, revealing not a cluttered mess of heirlooms, but a scene ripped from a nightmare. The guest room was anything but. It was meticulously, horrifyingly set up like a perverse stage. The air was thick with the cloying scent I now recognized as cheap air freshener, trying to mask something truly foul. My eyes, still adjusting to the dim light filtering through drawn curtains, first landed on the walls. They were lined, floor to ceiling, with shelves. And on those shelves, hundreds, no thousands of teddy bears. Not cute, cuddly toys, but filthy stained, dismembered bears. Some with missing eyes, some with matted fur. All arranged in rows, like a grotesque audience. My stomach lurched. This was beyond bizarre. As my gaze swept the room, it snagged on a flicker of red light coming from a small, almost invisible pinhole in the teddy bear closest to the door. Then another, near the ceiling fan. Then another, cleverly hidden in a fake plant in the corner, tiny red pinpricks of light cameras. My blood ran cold. The room was a dedicated recording studio. Each camera, I quickly realized, was strategically placed, offering multiple angles of the single, unmade bed in the center of the room. On a small bedside table, a tablet sat plugged in, its screen glowing faintly. I stumbled towards it, my hands trembling as I touched the screen. It was open to a meticulously organized folder system. Dates, names, video files. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. I clicked on one, my fingers shaking. The screen flickered to life. The first image was of Eleanor, my fiancée, smiling, beckoning someone into the room. And then, a man, a stranger, entering the frame. The video quality was disturbingly clear. I saw everything. The laughter, the whispered words, the graphic acts of infidelity, and the teddy bears. Always present, always watching. The musty smell was suddenly sickeningly clear. It was the stench of bodily fluids, of desperation, of countless anonymous encounters. I pulled back from the tablet, gagging. Then I saw it tucked under the tablet, a small, worn notebook. It was Eleanor's handwriting. Detailed entries, names, dates, times, payment amounts. This wasn't just cheating. This was a business, a horrifying secret life. The shock was a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. It wasn't just betrayal. It was an annihilation of everything I thought was real. The woman I loved, the woman I was going to marry, was a stranger, a prostitute, and she was doing it in our home under my nose, meticulously documenting it. The anger that surged through me was a violent, raging inferno, quickly followed by a wave of nausea so intense I had to lean against the doorframe to keep from collapsing. Betrayal, yes, but also a profound sense of defilement. This house, our sanctuary, was a brothel. My mind reeled, trying to reconcile the Eleanor I knew, kind, sweet, innocent, with the cold, calculating woman I saw on that screen and in those chilling notes. The darkness she inhabited was so much deeper, so much more perverse than simple infidelity. It was a complete psychological break, a double life lived with chilling precision. The initial wave of raw emotion, slowly, agonizingly, gave way to a cold, hard resolve. The devastation was absolute, but so was the clarity. There was no going back. Our future, our shared dreams, were a scorched wasteland. My new purpose was terrifyingly clear. I wasn't just leaving Eleanor, I was exposing her. Not for revenge, not purely for justice, for myself, for the violation of my trust, my home, my very soul. I would uncover the full extent of her depravity, collect irrefutable evidence, and then I would systematically dismantle her life. piece by agonizing piece, just as she had meticulously dismantled mine. The day of discovery marked the beginning of my silent war. I returned to the guest room, now seeing it not as a source of horror, but as a meticulously documented crime scene. My patience became a weapon. My first step was to secure the evidence. I carefully disconnected the tablet, ensuring it was fully charged, then placed it in a secure, fireproof safe I had in my study. I photographed every single detail of the room, the rows of teddy bears, the hidden cameras, the bed. I even managed to carefully remove one of the smaller, easily accessible cameras, intending to have it forensically examined later. The notebook with its chilling ledger was scanned page by page and then secured alongside the tablet. I bought an external hard drive and transferred all the video files, knowing their sheer volume would be crucial. I even took samples of the strange chemical cleaner she used, planning to send them for analysis. Every move was calculated, every detail catalogued. I was meticulous, operating under a veil of normalcy that was almost unbearable. To understand the legal ramifications and ensure I built an ironclad case, I started subtly educating myself. I spent hours online researching divorce laws, evidence admissibility, and even the laws surrounding prostitution and illicit recording. I anonymously consulted with a lawyer friend of Mark's, framing my questions hypothetically about a friend who discovered something heinous. I learned about digital forensics, data recovery, and the importance of chain of custody for evidence. I even started following basic cybersecurity protocols, encrypting my new hard drive, and ensuring my own devices were secure from any potential snooping from Eleanor. I reached out to a contact in law enforcement, ostensibly for advice on a neighbor's property dispute, but subtly probing about evidence handling in sensitive cases. Slowly, I was building my own arsenal of knowledge, transforming from a trusting partner into a silent, strategic adversary. The hardest part was maintaining the facade. Every morning I woke up, donned the mask of the loving fiancé, and greeted Eleanor with a forced smile. I kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her, and acted as if nothing had changed. Inside, a storm raged, but outwardly I was calm, collected, and utterly deceptive. We still discussed wedding plans, even going to a cake tasting that week. Each bite of sweet frosting felt like ash in my mouth. My acting was Oscar-worthy, a chilling performance of a man completely oblivious to the rot consuming his life. The contrast between my outward appearance and my inner resolve was a constant, agonizing tension. I saw her vibrant smile, her seemingly innocent eyes, and I knew the monster that lurked beneath, making my carefully constructed calm a testament to sheer willpower. The psychological toll was immense. Every touch from Eleanor, every casual endearment felt like a violation. I often had to excuse myself, rushing to the bathroom to fight back the urge to vomit. Sleep became a luxury, plagued by nightmares of those filthy teddy bears and the ghostly images from the videos. The musty scent of the guest room seemed to cling to everything, even my clothes, a phantom stench that permeated my senses. I found myself becoming hyper-vigilant, analyzing every word Eleanor spoke, every glance, every movement. Was she looking at me differently? Did she suspect my discovery? The paranoia was a constant companion, sharpening my focus but also slowly eroding my sanity. I felt like I was drowning in plain sight. Within weeks, I had a comprehensive dossier. I had consulted with the forensic expert, another anonymous favor arranged through Mark, who confirmed the cameras were high quality, motion activated, and capable of remote access. He'd even managed to recover a few deleted files from the tablet, further solidifying the sheer volume and duration of Eleanor's activities. I had also secretly opened a separate bank account, slowly transferring funds, ensuring I had enough capital for legal fees and a new start. My final milestone was to secure a temporary apartment, a safe haven for when the inevitable explosion occurred. The quiet clicks of my keyboard as I organized files, the hushed phone calls, the secret meetings, each action was a step towards a precipice, a point of no return. The waiting was torture, but the evidence had to be undeniable. The day of confrontation was meticulously planned. I chose a Saturday, knowing Eleanor would be home all day and I would have ample time for the aftermath. I'd told her I had a surprise for her, a special pre-wedding dinner at home, just the two of us. I cooked her favorite meal, set the table with our finest china, and even put on the soft jazz she loved. The atmosphere was deceptively romantic, a calm before the cataclysm. I made sure Mark was on standby, ready to come over. At a moment's notice, my silent ally, my bags were packed, hidden in the car, along with the evidence. The apartment was ready, everything was in place. After dinner, as we sat on the couch sipping wine, I reached for a small, elegantly wrapped box I'd placed on the coffee table. "A little something to celebrate us, darling," I said, my voice unnervingly steady. Eleanor's eyes lit up, the innocent facade perfectly in place. She unwrapped it eagerly. Inside, nestled on a bed of tissue paper, was a single, perfectly clean, brand new teddy bear. It was a pristine white with big, trusting button eyes. She looked at it, then at me, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. "Oh, Alex, how sweet. Buty, a teddy bear?" she asked, her voice light, but a tiny thread of suspicion entering her tone. I leaned in close, my voice dropping to a whisper, cutting through the jazz music like a razor. "Because, Eleanor," I said, my eyes locked onto hers, cold and unwavering. "I found your collection, the one in the guest room, the ones that watch you do all your dirty little tricks." The color drained from Eleanor's face. Her smile evaporated, replaced by a mask of utter shock. For a moment, she was frozen, the teddy bear clutched in her hand. Then, a flicker of fear, quickly followed by a desperate denial. "What are you talking about, Alex? It's just a messy room. I told you," she stammered, her voice thin. I cut her off, my voice gaining strength. "Don't lie, Eleanor. I know everything. I saw the cameras. I saw the videos. I saw your little ledger detailing every transaction, every stranger." Her eyes widened, her jaw slackening. The fear intensified, morphing into raw, unadulterated panic. "No, you're mistaken. You're crazy," she shrieked, jumping up her hand, flying to her mouth, but there was no anger, no righteous indignation, only terror. Her carefully constructed world was crumbling around her. I could see the realization dawn on her. She wasn't dealing with a naive fool anymore. She was dealing with a man who knew her deepest, darkest secrets. Then, the anger finally surfaced, a venomous hiss. "How dare you? You invaded my privacy." I remained seated, calm, utterly in control. My voice was low, measured, a stark contrast to her rising hysteria. "Privacy. You forfeited that the moment you turned our home into a brothel and recorded it, Eleanor. You compromised everything. Don't worry, I have all the footage, all the dates, all the names. Your little business is about to go public. Very public." I watched her, a chill satisfaction spreading through me as her face contorted, cycling through denial, rage, and finally a profound, desperate fear. I pulled out my phone, opening a specific file. "I even have this," I said, turning the screen slightly so she could see a spreadsheet meticulously detailing her earnings, the sum total of years of deceit. "Here are your options, Eleanor," I stated, my voice devoid of emotion. "You can sign the annulment papers I've already prepared, quietly and without argument. You will surrender all claim to this house, to any shared assets, and you will disappear from my life and this city permanently. In return, I won't go to the police with your charming little business. I won't send the videos to your family, your colleagues, or every single client in your phone book. The choice is yours: annulment, silence, and obscurity, or a very public, very humiliating downfall, complete with criminal charges." Her eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape, an out. There was none. Her usual manipulation, her sweet smiles, her innocent act, they were useless against the cold, hard facts I possessed. She was cornered, stripped bare of her power. The woman who had meticulously controlled a secret life was now utterly exposed, her fate entirely in my hands. The sight of her, reduced to a trembling, defeated figure, was not triumphant but eerily hollow. The power had shifted irrevocably, leaving her vulnerable and me, paradoxically, empty. The confrontation ended not with a bang but with a whimper. Eleanor, pale and trembling, eventually crumbled. The threat of public exposure of her meticulously constructed professional life imploding was too great. She signed the annulment papers that very night, her hand shaking so violently I thought the pen would snap. She packed a small bag, leaving behind years of her life, her clothes, her personal effects, and walked out the door without another word, melting into the night like a ghost. I watched her go, a profound sense of emptiness washing over me. The immediate silence in the house was deafening, the lingering scent of her perfume a cruel mockery. Eleanor vanished. I never saw her again, though I heard whispers through mutual acquaintances that she had indeed left the city, starting fresh somewhere else under a new name, her architectural career presumably in ruins. The house, once a symbol of our shared future, became a monument to betrayal. I couldn't bear to live in it. The guest room specifically was gutted. I hired a demolition crew to rip out every inch of it, the walls, the flooring, anything that held a memory of her depravity. I then sold the house, taking a significant loss just to be rid of it, to sever all ties. The funds from the sale, along with the assets I retained, were enough for a fresh start. I changed jobs, moved to a different part of the country, and slowly began to rebuild my life, piece by painstaking piece. The legal proceedings were minimal thanks to the annulment, but the emotional scars ran deep. The initial cold satisfaction I felt after the confrontation gave way to a pervasive, bone-deep weariness. There was no joy, no sense of triumph, only a profound sense of loss, not just of Eleanor, but of the person I had been, the trust I had so freely given. My heart was a fractured landscape, guarded and wary. I was no longer naive. That part of me had died in the guest room. I was more cautious, more cynical, but also, paradoxically, stronger. I had faced a darkness I never knew existed, confronted it head-on, and emerged. Not unscathed, but whole. The future remains unwritten, but it's a future I'm building on solid ground, not on the quicksand of deceit. I'm learning to trust again, slowly, painstakingly. I found solace in new friendships, in pursuing my own passions, in the quiet moments of solitude. The experience taught me a terrible truth about the human capacity for deception, but also about my own resilience. I carry the weight of that discovery, the memory of those filthy teddy bears and the hidden cameras, but I refuse to let it define me. It's a reminder, a scar, but not a prison. Sometimes the monsters aren't under the bed. They're sleeping right beside you. And sometimes the most profound revelations don't bring liberation, but a cold, hard understanding of the darkness that can exist within the ones we claim to love most. Be careful what doors you open. You might find a reflection of a truth you were never meant to see.